Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited to have you here. Okay, awesome. Anyway, so glad to have you here tonight. We have got some amazing speakers this week. We're going to have this amazing event, Faith Over Fear. If you are somebody who wants to make a difference in the world and maybe you're struggling with that fear that just, that little devil that keeps sitting on your shoulder and shouting in your ear, telling you can't do it, we're going to break through some of those things. We're going to get through some of your limiting beliefs and anything that is keeping you stuck. So let me just point out a few things. Now, this is a highly interactive experience. If you post in the comments, we can see them and we can bring them up here. We would love to hear your comments. We'd love to have interaction with you. We'd love to know what you're going through and what you'd like help with. So let me just point out a few things here first. If you go to let's see, right here, chat.restream.io/FB. Just open up another browser window, type that in, chat.restream.io. In fact, I wonder if I can put that in the comments. Actually, I don't know if I can. But if you put that in a little web browser, it will allow you to give permission to Facebook for Restream to use this. And that way, when you hop in here, instead of it saying Facebook user, it'll actually have your name and it'll have your face. And that way we can say, hey, Stacy, and we can interact with you. And it's just more personal. We want to be personal. So go to chat.restream.io/FB and it will get you that permission. So thank you very much for joining in. Looks like the room's filling up. We've got more people coming in. So just add in the chat, where you're from. Let us know a little bit about you. And while we're doing that, I'm going to give you just kind of a rundown of the week, all the really cool things that we've got going on here. So this is the Faith Over Fear Challenge. This is for entrepreneurs or people that want to start a stay-at-home side hustle. Anybody that feels like you've got a calling, you've got something that you need to get out into the world and you're not quite sure how to do that, we're going to share some ways that you can do that in remarkable ways. I think publishing is the way to do that. I think people need to hear your voice. I think people need to see you. If you are indeed called of God to do something, you need to stand up and be a leader for your people. And we're getting all of these amazing congregations. You are congregating your people in the things that you are doing. And I want to help you. We want to help you kind of break through some of those challenges, some of those barriers that have been keeping you stuck. So real quick, I'm going to go through who we have speaking this week. We've got my friend Michael McLean tonight. I'm really excited to have him come. He's backstage in the green room right now. I'm excited to bring him forward. We've got Leslie Householder. We've got Ashley June. We've got Livia Putris, Judy Weber, and Kelly Botter. Is joining us from Switzerland. Isn't that amazing? So we've got somebody from Arizona. So again, if you want to have your name mentioned and you want to have your picture in there, just open up another browser window, go to chat.restream.io/FB. That will give Facebook permission so that we can post your photo and make it just more personal. So with that, I'm going to just kind of get started. And with that, I want to ask your permission on something. I want to know how you would like to play while we're doing this. And we have three options. And I know this sounds really silly, but honestly, this is something that I think we go through all the time as far as how much we show up. Do you want me to play all in and just be totally 100% Scott? Or do you want me, option B, to hold back just a little bit? Or option C, do you want me to be a little bit conservative? Now, there's a little bit of a time delay between when you type this in the chat and when it shows up, but please put in there on how you want this to be. And I'll just kind of explain what all these are. Yeah, you say, oh yeah, I want you to play all in, or I play all in. But honestly, how often do we ever really play full out? Option A, and I'm loving, oh, thanks, it's so good to see you again, Carolyn. And Mark, saying play all in, absolutely. But as we do this, whenever I think about how I am around family, I am generally maybe option B or option C. I love my family, they love me, but I just kind of hold back. They don't get the full me. When I'm around and when you're around in the community, in your neighborhood, is that option C? Is that option B? It's only with the most special people that you can play all in, that you can be your full self. And it's people who love you for who you are and who are willing to, see your mistakes and your foibles. And, Elizabeth, so good to see you again. Thank you for joining again. So, yes, so anyway, I just wanted to get your permission on that. And then with that, I want to turn that back to you. I want you to play all in. We have this amazing Facebook group. I'm sorry, I get a little tender with this. I have had so much fun looking through and approving everybody as you've come on. And so many people have these really fun email addresses where you announce who you are. There's so many that have joy in it. There's so many that talk about faith and hope and your different businesses that you're involved in. And they are heart-centered, mission-driven, movement maker kind of businesses. And I just love that. So Mark, thank you for saying you're going to absolutely do this. And again, Facebook user, and I won't call you that anymore, but I will just point out, just in case you joined late, if you go to Restream, chat.restream.io/FB, you can give permission so that it'll actually show up with your photo. And that's what the difference is on those that say just Facebook user and those that say have your name. So anyway, with that, thank you, Livia. Livia's going to be speaking to us on Wednesday. Make sure you come on Wednesday. She's got some amazing stuff. So with your permission to play all in, I'd love to start with a prayer. I remember doing this for the first time. It scared the bejeebies out of me. I was like sweating bricks. But this is who I am. This is what I'm about. And if you don't mind, I'd love to just share a little statement of faith and start us out with a prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful to be a group of thy children and to gather together to talk about faith, to talk about courage, to talk about how we can live our callings and share the messages that thou hast put into our heart. Dear Father, we have some really cool people in this group, and I'm sure there are many challenges. I'm sure there are many obstacles that need to be overcome. Wilt thou please help us that we may have safety here in our group, that we may be able to share the things of our heart, and that we may be able to feel thy spirit and be able to step forward into the full version of ourselves and be able to shine thy light to help others along their path. Please be with us during this time in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. So thank you for honoring me and allowing me to do that, and so glad to have you here. So a few just housekeeping things before we bring on Michael McLean. Oh, I'm so excited to have you hear from him. So the way that this works tonight is and every night, we're doing it 5 days this week, and then actually Saturday morning as a bonus, we go live as a broadcast. And the cool thing about the way we're doing this is we're reaching out, trying to find more people to bring into our group, more people that are like you and that are like me and that are movement makers and working to make the world a better place. And we want to help them know that there is this safe place. So we're broadcasting on multiple channels to get that out there. So for the first 45 minutes is the broadcast out. And then afterwards, if you've upgraded to VIP, we have a backstage pass, and it's a little bit more intimate. You can turn on your cameras. It's a Zoom link for those who have upgraded. You're going to be able to ask your questions. Michael has agreed to come backstage and be able to answer those. It's kind of cool, but you can't do that as a broadcast. So that's why there are those two things. So if you are interested in doing that backstage thing, let's see. Yeah, just go to faithoverfear.tips if you want to upgrade to VIP, and just use your same email address that you registered with, and just make sure you take that upgrade option. And that'll get you there. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping so that you know what is going on. And I love that. I'm just going to toss Livia's comment on there. I just love how interactive this option is for us. So let's see. Okay, so real quick, I don't want to take much time. I want to turn the time over to Michael. So you're not going to really get to meet me tonight too much, other than me facilitating a little bit of stuff. You'll hear my story throughout the week, and that's fine. What I just want to share with you is that I came from a place of just deeply craving to get my voice out, and I felt like God was calling me to do something that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to do it. And I remember, in fact, I'll just use this to introduce Michael. I was fortunate enough to come to his home one time with a creative retreat. So I'm a filmmaker by trade, and we were able to, with a small group, come to his home. And he is a songwriter. He's a singer-songwriter. He's a playwright. He's a film director. He had a play on off-Broadway. He told me that he's sold 2 million records. Holy cow, and some of those were tapes, remember tapes and CDs. But he's been there, he's done it, he's just created all these amazing things. Well, the day that we were there with him, he said something to me that just woke me up. And he was speaking to the whole group. But you know how you go to one of those meetings where it feels like the speaker is just there for you and the message is just for you? And he was talking about having a purpose. And he said, what is, and he compared because he's just a brilliant songwriter, he compared everything to music. He said, what is the song? What is the song that only you can bring this world? And I, at that time, my self-esteem was in the toilet, just circling the drain. And I was thinking, is it possible that my life means something and that I can contribute that to somebody else? And so that began my real search for purpose and how to actually live this. So anyway, that's a little bit about Michael, and hopefully anyway, it's not a very good introduction on him, but I just want to bring him out. So I am going to bring him in now, and love to have you meet him. And then anyway, I've asked if he would talk a little bit more about purpose and what that means for us as entrepreneurs, is what that means, when God taps us on the shoulder and says, I want you to share this. So with that, thank you for coming, Michael.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Oh,
there's my mouth mute. I don't think my mouth is moving with my words.
Yeah, it's coming in. It froze for just a quick sec. Hey, here's a kind of cool comment that just came through from Mark. I don't know if you can see that. Michael McLean's music got me through a very dark time in my life. Still cry during the forgotten carols. So.
Oh,
this
thanks,
is fun
Mark.
to...
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that a lot. Forgotten Carols got me through some pretty dark times of my own, so thanks.
Well, Michael, I just wanted to kind of revisit some of those things. We've talked about purpose a lot, you and I. You've been a great mentor to me. I so have appreciated you as an artist. Helping a much younger artist, who's struggling and trying to figure out things, and you've been there, you've done everything, it seems, and I love to hear some of your lessons along the way.
Well, I failed at a lot of things. I tried a lot of things that just didn't work, and the interesting thing, I had an experience. I grew up in Chicago in my high school years, and then we went to New Jersey, and there weren't any kids of my faith. I mean, there were some great, faithful, faith-based people, but there weren't Mormon kids where I grew up. And I was lucky enough to have all these spectacular friends. And yet one of the really pivotal moments, I think, was, and this is, if you're not familiar with our tribe, we have a tradition. It's not exactly like a bar mitzvah, but a little bit after bar mitzvah age, we get these blessings. We call them patriarchal blessings, and they're to give you some guidance for your life. And I didn't really know as a young kid, although something in my heart said, and I don't know if it was ego or just the fact that I was not snarky in class. And I became teacher's pet. I thought, I think I'm special. I must be really special because, I'm a good boy, and I want to be a good boy. So I go to Wilmette, Illinois, when I'm 16 years old, and I get this blessing from a really cool guy named John Edmonds, very poetic fellow, and he talked about what's your purpose. What's your purpose in life? And it wasn't like a psychic reading, but it was kind of the spiritual version of here's some guidelines that might help you make some important decisions in your life. So after I got this blessing as a 16-year-old, and I was still trying to figure out my faith, I was lucky enough to have a dad who just said, when we moved to Chicago, he came to me the night before school started, and he said, there are 4,000 kids in your high school. You're the only one that's of our tribe. good luck, kid. It's going to be scary. And I said, what do you mean? He said, look, Michael, I really love that you've come to church with me, but you cannot, this was interesting, you cannot live on borrowed light. What do you mean, borrowed light? He said, there comes a point when you have to decide who you are and what you believe that is not dictated by your family or your culture or your church or your background. You have to own it. You have to say, this is what I think is true. And then he said a great thing. He said, if you come to me and if you get invited to go to Baptist youth retreat, go. If your Catholic buddies want you to take a catechism class, go. If you want to be a part of Young Life, go. There's all these spectacular people. Invite them in. Pray about it. Think about it. Find what works for you. And if you come back to me after you get some answers to what your purpose is and where you think you're supposed to go with your life and say, Dad, I'm sorry, your path didn't work for me. I love you and I respect you, but I found a different path. My father, my uber righteous Mormon father, said, if you can look me in the eye and say, I feel good about where I'm going, that's what I want for you, not to just parrot what you've heard from me. And so I had this great opportunity to be around the best people in my life, the best people in my world. And I also made some explorations in my own faith. And one of those was having this blessing that came from my tribe. And in it, they said, in essence, the blessing said, you have something you're supposed to do. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, here it is. Just tell me and I'll do it. You know, go into advertising, be a doctor, you know, teach third grade. Just tell me and I'll do it. And it just said, you came to do something that only you can do. And the blessing gave me some guidance, and it said, but the single, and this really impacted me, single most important thing you do in your life is find out what only you can do and do it. Well, I'm 16, you know, what only I can do. I don't think I'm going to play for the Cubs. I don't think I'm going to get to be, Steve Young. I'm not going to be a football player. So what is the thing that only I can do? And I thought it had something to do, a lot of it had to do with my church. And I thought, I think I want to maybe be a missionary, and that may be part of it. But I didn't have a defined purpose, do A, B, C, and D. But the most important thing was that every day I greet it with, so what am I supposed to do today? And that was really kind of the beginning of my trying to figure out what I had to bring and what I had to offer. And then being able to adjust it, because sometimes I think, well, maybe it's this thing. And I got a chance to make some films for the LDS Church, and I had some incredible experiences. And I thought, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I made a movie with Jimmy Stewart, seen by 300 million people. I got a chance to create it, produce it. It was an amazing experience. And then I thought, well, I'm supposed to be Mike McSpielberg. I'm going to be a great filmmaker. Not so much. But it led me to the next thing. So I give that as a background, so you know that I've been a little OCD about for my entire life. So what is it that I'm supposed to do? And how do I figure out how to do it? And how do I find people that will help me learn?
Now, Michael, when we talked today, like right on this subject, you talked to me about what it feels like to be going down a path and you think that's it, and then but there's something over here and you go, what if it's this? You know, tell me about some of those feelings that you were exploring today.
Well, you know, I was thinking about the people who are going to be part of this exchange. And one of the things that you find is you think, I just saw Chariots of Fire. I want to make the next Chariots of Fire. That movie touched my heart. I want to be Vangelis. I want to write the story. I think I'm supposed to make Chariots of Fire. And in the process of trying to figure out how to make the next Chariots of Fire, somebody says, well, we don't have $4 million to give you to make Chariots of Fire. And so you say, oh, shoot. Well, what if I made a short Chariots of Fire? What if I made 30-second Chariots of Fire and called them commercials? Maybe that would prepare me. And then you start down that path and things don't lead you to what the end was. You think, I want an Academy Award, people in tears, inspired to be better people. I want to write Man of La Mancha. I want to have hits like the Beatles. I want this end result. And we think about the end result we want, but what we forget is the end result is the last thing we need to be concerned about. The thing we need to be concerned about is anything that I have to offer of value to anybody besides me? And if so, how do I make it available to them? And how do I make it good? My dad told me something when I told him I think I want to be a filmmaker or write musicals or do art. And he did this really interesting thing. He made I'm not doing it so it looks right on the thing, but he made a graph. And on this axis, can you see? Okay, on this axis of the graph, he wrote effectiveness. And on this axis of the graph, he wrote righteousness. And I was a kid, and he said, so if you're at 0 and we're trying to figure out what's effective and what's righteous, he said at the top of the effectiveness scale, the guy with the best writers, the coolest music, the most exquisite cinematography, and brilliant ability to tell you untruths without you even knowing it's coming is Satan. He said, here's Satan. He's the best. 100% effective. The guy gets what he wants done. He's infecting the world, and they don't even know it's coming. This guy is good. Now, over here at really righteous and not effective, he wrote the name John Q. Milquetoast. And he said, John Q., as a songwriter, is so well-intentioned. He wants everybody to be good and pure. He doesn't want anybody to have sex before they get married. He wants them to keep all the commandments. He wants to write songs for people to be good. Very, very righteous guy. Lousy songs. He has no, they're horrible songs. You know, he can't rhyme anything with celestial. I mean, what do you do? But he's a good guy. And then he said, and this was the coolest, he said, but who are we trying to be like? And we were a strong Christian family, and up at 100% righteous and 100% effective, he wrote Jesus. And he said, now Jesus did not tell lousy parables and not be able to draw a crowd. He got people to listen to him. He was the most effective storyteller in the history of storytelling. But he was also completely committed to lifting and blessing and helping other people. But he never hid lousy craft, bad storytelling, poor examples behind his good intentions. So, Mike, if you're going to write songs, if you're going to make musicals, if you're going to do books, if you're going to make films that you hope will lift somebody, that reflect your heart, it is not enough to have great intention. It is not enough. It is not okay to say, well, why don't people like this movie? Why don't they love my song? Don't they know that I'm trying to do something good to bless their lives? No, that's not the example. The example is to learn to be excellent and to learn from the best what excellence requires. And then as you're developing the craft of being excellent and you're taking this righteousness, it's not just goody two-shoes stuff. He always reflected on righteousness as a reflection of the very best your heart has to offer. So I started to decide if I'm going to fulfill my purpose, I better learn how to do something well. And if I'm going to do a musical, I ought to get somebody who are brilliant musical makers to help me, manage this challenge. And a great thing happened to me. I got a chance to spend 9 weeks in New York City with Stephen Schwartz. My buddy Kevin Kelly and I were working on this musical about the Ark, where the inside of the theater's Noah's Ark and the audience were the animals. And we got invited by him to do workshops surrounded by Broadway's great, brilliant geniuses. You show up and you do a little 15, 20-minute piece of your show, and the people who are sitting out there have all won Tony Awards and Academy Awards. And the guy who wrote Fiddler on the Roof is there, and the person who did Secret Garden is there, and they watch your work. Basically, you get beat up by really smart people. And so you're singing your songs, and you think this is the best song I have ever written. This is reflecting my true purpose. And then a genius person says, have you thought about editing that? It seems like you're saying the same thing over and over again. You're not moving the story forward. And you defend yourself by saying, this is the best song I've ever written, and I felt the spirit when I did it. And the genius says, that's lovely, but it's not a very good song yet. Here's what it takes to do good. And Stephen Schwartz, who wrote Wicked and Godspell and an Academy Award for Prince of Egypt. This guy was my hero before the before. He called us in, Kevin and I, and he said, the most brilliant people that are available in New York City are going to come to this event. And I will not allow them to criticize you or anything about your piece because of what you want to say. And what I know about this musical is you want to talk about the nature of miracles, how do they work, what's our relationship with our family and God in a crisis. He said, if that's what's in your hearts and that's what you want to do, I will not allow someone to criticize you or bully you or beat you up. But you're on Broadway, kid, and the standard for us is high, but for what you're trying to do, it's higher. You can't get away with your good intention to help families be strengthened by your musical. You have to have that effectiveness. And so when you listen to people criticize or try to make better, they're trying to help you say what you want to say in a way that you'll be better at it. Don't let them, and this is important, don't let them change what you want to say. Let them give you tools to help you say it better. And so here's my take on fulfilling our purpose, is it's a battle between what's effective and what's really a reflection of my purpose in my heart. And sometimes we cheat because it's too hard to figure out how to do the internet. Oh, I don't want to go through the hassle of the toxic environment. I don't want to learn how to get together with people. Why don't people just hear my songs and race to me and say, oh, thank you, Jesus. You sent us Mike McLean. No. Am I willing to pay the price to become effective at offering it to people? And who can help me? And the reason I love what you're trying to do, Scott, and what all the people who are in part of your group are doing, is they're saying, let us become more effective at sharing what we believe it was given to us to share. It's in our DNA. God above said, I want you to bless your family and yourself and learn great lessons and then pass it on. And I think getting together to do that in this format is a great way to do it that was not available when I was trying to learn how to do it myself.
You just explained the whole purpose of the week, giving away the secret, that I believe that we can be more effective and that there are more effective ways to get our messages out there. And I think publishing is a big part of that. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to talk to you about this is that you're a guy that didn't just go down one path. And I don't know which one you started at, if it was music, but then you've also directed, films. My favorite one with Jimmy Stewart there. You've done plays on Broadway. You've written books. Tell me a little bit about, because I believe that publishing is the key, and by publishing, that's a very broad term. It's as broad as everything that you've done, but creating and getting your voice, whether it's your own personal voice or the art that you create out there to get these messages out to the world. I think that's the secret to success. And maybe I shouldn't quote the success there, but what is it that had you do multiple roads instead of just one road? Can you explain kind of that story?
Yeah, I failed. I wanted to be Billy Joel. I thought that's my plan. When I was on my mission in South Africa, I spent 8 months in a band, and I was able to sing things that I couldn't say to people. I felt a connection with them, and I thought, oh my gosh. And I was with a great group of guys. Roger Hoffman was in our band, the guy who wrote Considers the Lilies of the Field, and Paul Nichols, who was the best performer I've ever seen, and Bill Evans, who was terrific. And I thought, we're going to come home and make a band. We'll be the next Chicago, but with the spirit. We're going to call ourselves Light, if that isn't the perfect line. And we're going to do this. And so I went and borrowed every penny I possibly could borrow. I wrote a song every single day, every day, 6 days a week for a year to try to get the craft of writing songs. I took every penny that I earned from making commercials, and I'd go to Nashville or LA or New York, because I was going to be a hit songwriter guy that would change the planet. And I failed desperately. Nobody wanted my songs. We had problems with then trying to be a band. I was playing in nightclubs for drunks to pay the light bill. Nobody cared about my supposed songs. I even had a chance to go to Nashville with a friend of mine who opened the door to the head of Universal, and I took my 3 best songs that I knew. And I'd written hundreds of songs to try to get the craft of it. I'd worked with the best musicians. Disaster. The band fell apart. I got the head of Universal Music. When I played him a song, he listened, said nothing, and said no. And I said, no, like bad chorus? No, like I could make the lyric better, that the melody wasn't strong, and the guy says, what is there about no you don't understand? No. Just no. And he reels the tape up, and my friend who had opened up the door for this comes in and said, hey, Jim, don't you think Jim Ed Norman, big deal. He'd done all of the Anne Murray songs, and I thought he was brilliant, and he'd love my songs. Well, he didn't have time for one. He just hated them. And my friend says, don't you think this kid's got great potential? And he looks at me and says, well, I guess you could say all living creatures have potential, but no. And I remember going home, and I thought this was the best I could do. The band's falling apart. Maybe I just went down this path for maybe my ego needed it. I'm just a loser at this. Gosh, I'm sorry. I better go back to school and learn how to do something else because I'm a failure. And I remember I started to pursue something, and I had some success making commercials, which were 30-second songs instead of full-time songs. And I got this opportunity to start to make films, little commercial films. And I thought, maybe my creativity has led me to do this thing. Was not meant to be a great songwriter, but maybe I can make clever commercials. And then I won some awards, and it was kind of impressive. And then I got this chance to make a movie with Jimmy Stewart and the Tabernacle Choir called Mr. Kruger's Christmas. And I thought, and it took 3 years, and it got beat up, and it nearly failed. But I finally got a chance to make this movie with my hero, to stand in front of the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12 for 30 minutes and act out this movie that I've always wanted to make. And they let me do it. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was too young to know I couldn't do it. It gets seen by over 300 million people. And I think, this is it. This is my destiny. I have arrived. I have paid the price and I have arrived. And then not so much. Not so much. We don't want you to, yeah, that's kind of not where you're headed. And then I heard a voice. And then I learned how to direct movies. I learned how to make a whole bunch for the Mormon Church and make commercials and do a whole bunch of stuff. And I turned 40 years old. And I hear this voice in my head, and I know that you who are listening to this know. And the voice may sound a little different to you than it sounds to me, but it's the same voice. And for me, it said, time to move on. You're not fulfilling your purpose. What? I got insurance. I've got a gig. I can pay the light bill. I think I can get my kids through college. I'm not going to get thrown out of offices in Nashville and LA. I've got a job. No, I've made some successful movies for the Mormon Church. I've made these commercials. People seem to like me. No one will fire me. I'm 40 years old and I need a job. This must be my purpose. And the voice says, I don't think so. Excuse me? You've got something else I need you to do. Don't tell me that. I've got a job. I'm paying the bills. I'm not a lousy dad in this format. I can get them educated. Maybe I'll postpone my purpose till a convenient time. No, the convenient time, Michael, is now. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, remember that little blessing you got when you were 16? That's the most important thing you figure out. What do you have to say that only you can say that can bless you and help other people? It's not, I can't tell you that it's going to win you any awards, but I want you to learn to trust the thing that you have, and this is my feeling that it was coming from heaven, that only you have. I don't want you to figure out how to be Billy Joel. We got one of those. I think I did a great job with Billy and Bruce Springsteen. We don't need you to be one. We don't need another Stephen Schwartz. My gosh, the guy's a genius. But you have stuff that you have to say if you will pay attention and trust this. And I'm rolling my eyes to heaven saying, trust it. I just want to pay the light bill. I can trust that. No, I want you to trust it. I want you to wake up every day scared. Was that bleeped? Just scared to death that you don't know. And then to take a leap, just one little step into the darkness to say, maybe it's this. And if that doesn't work out, maybe it was kind of like that, but maybe it's a rewrite and it's this. And as you go down that path saying, wait a minute, this is my trying to be like somebody else. Don't need you to be that. Don't need that. There are people who are great at being somebody else. Why don't you figure out who Michael McLean is? And why don't you share that thing? My dad used to say the problem, he was a business consultant. He said, the problem is you go into interviews with your boss and they say, on the left side of the page, write all of your strengths. And on the right side of the page, write all of your weaknesses. Now, what can we do to help you fix those weaknesses so that you can become more successful? And my dad shook his head and he said, do we really want to be outstanding and unique and make a contribution to the world with doing what we have gifts to do? Or do we want to go into the world with a lot of highly developed weaknesses? Do you want to be brilliant at something that you can be brilliant at, that you uniquely can offer the world? Or do you just want to parade around with a whole bunch of highly developed weaknesses? So strengthen those strengths, build on those things with people who are way smarter than you, and then have the guts and the faith and the courage to say, I'm going to find a way to share what I know. If I don't share it, I'll probably wither and die. It's that important to me. And then do it.
I'm just absolutely stunned and so grateful that you are the guy kicking off this week, because in everything that I've seen you in what I term as like your finished form. I haven't seen the struggle. I haven't seen the pivots. I haven't seen the heartache that you've had along the way. And I often find myself comparing myself and go, well, I can't get there from here. But it's interesting to hear the heartache that you've gone through in this. And we're seeing just amazing comments in the chat of all these people who have been touched by you for the last many years. And had you not listened to the voice, had you not been doing what you have felt called to do, we would have all missed out on those blessings. And so anyway, I find it remarkable that this sets the stage for this whole week. So everybody listening, listen to this. I believe that you have an opportunity to get your voice out there in whatever form that is. But I believe that publishing is the key for you to gain your tribe, to gain more effectiveness, as Michael talked about, to be able to serve in remarkable ways, to live the calling that you were meant to do. And I believe that you can also do it easily and effortlessly. A lot of the belief systems that you've had about how hard it is to get your stuff out. I mean, you can listen to Michael's story about being in front of Jim Ed Norman and just trying to get his stuff published. Now it's a lot easier in different respects to actually get your voice out. So this week we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to hear some amazing things. I want to have just kind of one more comment from Michael, and then we're going to wrap this part up. And then the way that we have built this is we have a more intimate setting. For those who have upgraded to VIP, it's not too late. By the way, if you haven't upgraded to VIP, just go back to, I'll put up that little note again. faithoverfear.tips. Just re-register, pick the VIP option, and if you do it in the next few minutes, I hopefully will still be able to get a link out to you. For those that have upgraded, make sure you look at that other email that gives you the Zoom link, and then we get a deep dive into what Michael said. He's been willing to hear questions and things like that. So let's just Michael, let's have you just kind of wrap up in this session. Just this. From our perspective, we see the finished product, but you've had the heartache of trying, and just what are some things that you can give us way back on the beginning parts of the journey on how to do that better?
Well, I want to speak to whoever it is that's watching this, that's thinking to themselves, what do I have to give? And who can help me give it? And what kind of validation am I searching for so I can feel like I succeeded at it? And for years, I thought if I could get a success or two behind me, it would give me the confidence and the courage to move forward. And that I wouldn't go through this anxiety of, I don't think I have anything to offer. I don't even know if it's any good. And make this note: it will never get easy. There will never come a moment where you think I've arrived. I've just had a lot of success, and I've got millions of views, and people think I'm spectacular, and I'm a big hit on the internet, and I'm making a ton of money, so I can cruise now for a while. Listen, this is important. Listen to this. You will never be able to cruise. You may take a vacation. You may not want to work for a while. But every day, it's going to be not always gut-wrenching, but it's going to be this deep question of what is it that I have to offer? And here's the most important part of that question I want to leave you with you. The question is not, what is my purpose and what can I offer that will bless the world? The question is, what do I need to learn? The great gift of art is not that it teaches us the answer to our problems. Art gives us a chance to ask the right questions. And when we write something, this is the great aha for me. Years ago, we had a trauma in our neighborhood, and it was during a time when the Kosovo refugees were trying to get by. And my wife had made 80 quilts, and I thought, well, what am I doing to help all the refugees? And my wife said, you really want to help the refugees? And then we live on a farm. She said, see Melanie North over there? Why don't you do something for her? I said, no, refugees, people, refugees. She said, she just lost her son. She got so mad at him. She's a single mom that one day, in great frustration, he was being a pill. She just took his clothes, threw him in a suitcase, put it on the front porch and said, until you can keep the rules around here, you find someplace else to live. He shot himself that night, got drunk and shot himself. And she's trying to carry that burden. And I thought, oh my heavens, she's a refugee. And so I wrote for my friend Melanie a song called Safe Harbors. And the lyric went, there are refugees among us that are not from foreign shores, and the battles they've been waging are for very private wars. And there are no correspondents documenting all their grief, but these refugees among us all are yearning for relief. This is a call to arms to reach out and hold the evacuees from the dark. This is a call to arms to lead anguished souls to safe harbors of the heart. So I wrote this song, the whole thing. We ended up getting it recorded. And I thought that was it. And I thought, well, I fulfilled my destiny. I wrote this song to try to help my friend who was a refugee across the field. 15 years later, I'm invited by Imagine Dragons, Dan Reynolds and Imagine Dragons. They're having their first ever Love Loud concert. And here's the biggest band in the world. And I, as a geezer, I'm invited to kind of say a few words because I have a gay son. And I asked Jeff if he would be willing to sing with me. And if so, what would we sing? And he said, Dad, I think we should sing that Safe Harbors song because it's really about having a gay kid in a straight world who needs help. 15 years earlier, thinking that I was going to fulfill my destiny by helping someone else, I wrote these lines. Can you see through their disguises? Can you hear what words won't tell? Some are losing faith in heaven because their life's a living hell. Is there anyone to help those who have nowhere else to flee because the only arms protecting them belong to you and me? This is a call to arms, to reach out and to hold the evacuees from the dark. This is a call to arms to lead anguished souls to safe harbors of the heart. Can you feel the pleas of the refugees for safe harbors of the heart? So the song written 15 years ago for my friend Melanie was really trying to teach me something about my relationship with my gay son. And in exploring the things I needed to learn from the art or from what I'm sharing, that was what blessed others. And that's the great aha for me. Don't figure what you have to offer. Figure what you have to learn and then share it.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And Michael, I just so honor you. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for kicking off this week and getting us in the right emotional state, for helping us understand with clarity our purpose and what it is that we have to offer and what we have to learn. And how we can do that by stepping forward with faith, getting rid of this fear, and moving forward with our hand in the hand of God. So thank you very much for that. For those who have upgraded to VIP, we'll see you in just a few minutes. Just go for your email, find that Zoom link to get you there, and we'll have a little bit, come with any questions. We'll be able to have a little bit more of an intimate setting. We'd love to go deeper with some of these questions. For those that aren't in VIP, that's totally cool. This is meant to be a broadcast. It's meant to be a service, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. We're going to start again 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Come there with your comments. We love being able to add these in and be able to interact with everyone. So thank you so much. So appreciate everyone, and we will see you guys tomorrow night or in just a few minutes. And in the just a few minutes, give me just a few minutes because I want to just check and see if anybody has upgraded and get them the link. So we'll be in there in just a few minutes. All right. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight, and we'll see you soon.